I've had one video that got 17,000 views in one day, but the phone did not ring 17 times more than it did the day before. That also tells me that views are not directly connected to the phone ringing, which again to me is the most important metric.
So everybody nowadays copies the same thumbnails from like an Alex Hermosi, right? Where it's like the very big colorful one with it's busy and it stands out. What do people believe true that you found out isn't, that they can implement that would make a big change with the thumbnails?
We tend to have ourselves on there. I say ourselves, I mean myself. I have myself on there, the creator of the video. I think that helps with branding. It helps with, facial awareness and just, developing that relationship with somebody. So, your face typically takes up a third of the thumbnail. I usually just keep it to the right. We kind of follow the same format. Keep it to the right because there's the timer in the bottom right hand corner, and if you want it to take away from anything, it's usually like the collar of my shirt. So you want your head to be big enough to where the top of your head is almost at the top of the thumbnail and the bottom of your chin is right there above that timer. So that looks big if you make that on a desktop. You're thinking, wow, man, I look massive. But you got to think about people looking at this on mobile or laptops or things like that. The other 2/3, because we're in real estate, we typically have real estate pictures on there. And then as far as wording, we like to go with 1 to 3 words. And so the less words, the better. You can paint a picture. We do enhance colors on our, thumbnails just because they look better. If we pull a house, a photo stock image of a house, it's usually just going to be a house, and if you enhance the color a little bit, it makes the yard look nicer. It looks the sky a little bluer. And that, people are naturally drawn to colors. That's why there's so much of an emphasis in marketing with colors. Ideally, again, as I mentioned, we're visual creatures. Mm-hmm. So think about it, depending on what you believe, we were originally designed as fruit eaters, fruitarians. So think about this. Are you really attracted to green vegetables or are you attracted to bright colored fruits? Well, the reason fruits are colored that way, ideally, in the early days, because you could see them through leaves, right? You could easily see an apple or an orange or a banana, hanging off the tree, especially like in a dense area. So, you're attracted to yellows and reds and orange, bright colors. And that's typically, I think, built into our DNA. And so, that's what you do want to consider. Now, maybe it might be more noticeable now because, Alex Hermosi gets so many views. But, it just seems like whatever he's done, it doesn't matter. I've seen some good thumbnails of his. I've seen some bad ones and he still gets pretty good views, So yeah. I think, color enhancement is important. Wording. If you can tell a story with a thumbnail without any words, I think that's a very powerful thumbnail. But I think it's hard to do that in real estate unless you put it underwater or on fire. Then clearly that'll get some views. So there's just different ways, and you kind of just understand that. Once you study it, you start to see that. You look at the Hermosis and you look at other people's that do have good high amount of views and notice. And so take some inspiration, think about what they're doing. I wouldn't copy anybody directly, but you can always draw some inspiration from others.
Yeah.
What's your goal as far as length of the video? Are you big on creating like long form and then chopping it up, or are you specifically creating, a bunch of short form?
I think video should be as long as it needs to be. We've done this all primarily through long form content. We haven't really focused on short form at all. All of our short form content comes from our long form content. So it's one of those things where I do think it's important, short form content, but I believe long form content is the best way to convert because likely people are not going to watch a 60-second reel and buy a home from you. Now, that's the first chapter of the book, Passive Prospecting, is interruption versus intention-based marketing. Short form content ideally is interruption marketing. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok are interruption platforms. Last time I checked, nobody said, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on Facebook and see what's on the market. Yep. Nobody said, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on Instagram and see if we can find a really cool agent sitting on a Lamborghini. Nobody said, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on TikTok and see if we can find the best dancing real estate agent. So they're not going to those platforms to research for buying decisions, right? They're mostly, what I believe, people go to those platforms to kill time. To do mindless activities, right? They're scrolling with their thumb. So Will they come across a real estate agent? Sure. Does that mean they're in the market? Probably not. And they may not be in the market for 2, 3, or 4 more years. But guess what? People go onto YouTube and say, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house and we're going to move to Dallas, but maybe let's research Dallas. And then they start typing in, what's it like to live in Dallas? And guess what? All of our videos pop up. And so therefore, we're capturing people in the research phase before they've ever decided to hire a real estate agent. And that to me is the most powerful, because then we become their agent by choice because they end up watching more and more of our videos. And so the relationship gets developed through the video. And so that way, whenever they call us, they've decided to work with us already. And that's way more powerful.
Yeah. So if I get this right, thumbnail is important to get somebody's attention. The title is there to give a small description of what the video is going to be about. And the
1
content,
to 3 words.
1 to 3 words for the, no, well, 1 to 3 words for the thumbnail, right?
Thumbnail.
And then the content itself will improve over time. So someone listening to this thinking I can't do that, the more they do it, the better they'll get over time. Now, the back end part of it, which is probably the most difficult, which is like the SEO stuff and some of those tidbits. Obviously, everything is in your book. So if somebody wants to get a hold of those, you can get the book and go through it yourself. But what's one most important thing that someone should be aware of that they might not be?
Well, if there's a blank that YouTube gives you, fill in the blank. So a lot of people just post videos and you post a video, but you need to look at when you before you publish that video, YouTube's going to give you a lot of steps to go through. There's a lot of boxes to check, a lot of empty boxes to fill in. I mean, you need to look at all of that stuff, because guess what? If YouTube gave you a box, shouldn't that tell you that they probably want something in that box? And so a lot of people just skip over that stuff. And that's why their videos never show up in search, because YouTube doesn't know how to match their video to the people that are searching for the content.
Are you leveraging any AI platforms to build this out even more?
We use some for descriptions and copywriting and blogging. Yeah.
There was a website that we just found out actually a couple of days ago, because it's so brutal to go back to try to find from long form to short form. It was a company called getmunch.com, where they split little videos in there, and they give you, like, if they're talking about, for instance, sales, and they'll say a trending topic in there is like accountability structure or something like that associated with business. It'll say, use these keywords. Is that keywords you would use in the actual title, or is that you'd use in the description, or is that you'd use somewhere else in when you're uploading the video?
All of it. Yep.
Really?
Yep. Keywords in the thumbnail, keywords in the title, keywords in the description, keywords in the tags. I mean, there's a whole back end. That's why a lot of people shy away from YouTube. I think it is the most complex yet simple back end, because I mean, can you really tell me how to be successful on Instagram? Because I don't know. I get 50,000 views on a reel, and I've gotten 200 views on a reel, and then the next day I get 3,000, and the next day I get 15,000, then the next day I get 400. And so, and I can't for the life of me, and nobody that I have look at it for the life of me can tell me, okay, here's how you post a 50,000 viewed reel every single day. But our videos on YouTube, they do the same or they do better, so every time we publish, we're either doing very well, or and we know we can measure that on a certain style of video, the velocity, we can see all the analytics, does it, our metric is kind of like 1K in one day. If we don't hit 1,000 views in one day, then we know either the subject matter or, something that's not good. And we have a group of videos right now that we know don't do as well as the others. I just produced another group of videos that are all doing way better than ever before. So I know I've hit the sweet spot on that content creation. I mean, I just can't figure it out on any of these short form platforms, I mean, I got TikTok, I've got videos with 400,000 views, and I've got videos with 2 views on them, And so to me, that tells me on those platforms, they're just getting pushed out whenever the platform decides to push them out, because there's no reason I should get 400,000 views on one video and 2 views on the next one, right? Yeah. Especially if I have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 followers. I mean, I should at least get the baseline, somewhere of a good baseline. It's so up and down, but YouTube's very consistent, and I think it's the most consistent platform as well as far as when it comes to changes. They don't really change a lot. Really, Shorts has been the biggest change they've come out with in the last 2 years. Other than that, the other platforms seems like they're changing all the time, and Instagram can't figure out who they are right now because they're trying to compete with TikTok. And YouTube, I don't know if you guys know about this, but they just created a whole separate podcast tab on YouTube. Yep. So, you should be uploading all this content on YouTube podcast, and YouTube is actually the #1 podcasting platform out there today. And guess what? It's search-based. I mean, all podcasts, I guess Spotify, Apple, those are search-based as well, because you can type in YouTube for real estate. Yep. And, or passive prospecting. If you type in passive prospecting, our podcast will pop up. But so that is kind of search-based, and you can type in some keywords. But YouTube's a really strong platform for that. But that's why you just want to be mindful of everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can tell you love the analytics of it. Let's just say you post a video. I think you said that one of your favorite thumbnails is coming out this weekend. Let's just say you post it on Saturday. You said the goal would be 1K a day, right? So 1,000 views per day. So on Sunday, let's just say you've hit your 1,000 views. You go into the back end of YouTube. What are the key metrics you're looking at to see if it was successful in your mind?
It's more like 1K in the first day. So from there, it could start to compound and likely will. But it's velocity. YouTube gives you a ranking of your last 10 videos, and so you can clearly see where that video ranks. So if I publish a video and it's 1 out of 10, that means it's taken off the best out of the last 10 videos. If it's 5 out of 10, it's right in the middle, right? And then it will actually show me how it compares to the last 10 videos. If it's 10 out of 10, then that's not that great. That means I'm going backwards. So I really don't dive too much into the analytics, because again, the goal is to make the phone ring. I've had one video that got 17,000 views in one day, but the phone did not ring 17 times more than it did the day before.
Right.
So that also tells me that views are not directly connected to the phone ringing, which again to me is the most important metric. So I think there's a lot of different factors in there. I think it's just making sure you rank, because most people, when they search, they will likely pick one video out of the top 5. Usually 3 to 5 videos will display in search results, and they don't have to scroll. Maybe they'll scroll just a little bit, but we typically will have 2 to 3 videos within the top 5, if not the top 10 of anything that's searched in Dallas. And that speaks authority almost. When people see us, because there's a lot of other agents creating videos now, and you might see one of their videos, but if we have 3 out of the top 5 or top 10, it makes us just look that much better. And so if they start clicking on there, the great thing about YouTube is once somebody clicks on your video and watches it, guess what YouTube's going to do? It's going to promote more of your videos. Yep, it'll get them caught up in the cycle, because YouTube's whole goal is time on platform. Yeah. Yep. And so they want to suggest videos to people that they believe they will watch. So the longer they watch, now view duration is very important. So the longer view duration that you have, the better. So I think if you can get anywhere from 30, 40 to 50% and above, you're winning on there. But I've had videos that have had 20% view duration or average view duration, and they get tons of views. Now, the other thing is that YouTube, if it pushes it out, doesn't mean they're pushing it out to all the perfect people either. So. Right. So people could click on it, and that's why the view durations go down. So I think there's so many variables in all of that stuff. I think the ranking is probably one of the most important things as far as how it compares to the other ones. But for us, it's just like, I want to hit 1,000 views as fast as possible, and everything else kind of takes over from there.
Yeah, no, that's good. I feel like the biggest misconception is that people use almost YouTube as like a storage house, and then they rely on all the other metrics and just try to pull from it. Yeah. What I hear, it sounds like it really works, is using YouTube as the foundation. And that's what will make people seek you out, because it is a search engine. It's not a warehouse, right? Now, what's one secret that you're willing to share with everybody? And this will leave a cliffhanger, but what would be a good thing that someone can take and that would be it would make a big difference for them if they implemented in their YouTube posting, the videos they're doing?
One secret is change your file name before you upload to YouTube. So you know how whenever you record a video, how you'll get the .mp4 or the .mov,
yep,
right? And you know how it usually defaults to like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P,
Yep.
or it'll default to the date. Maybe it'll say like 1/16 or whatever today, 3/17/23. Maybe it defaults to the date, and then people will just upload that video. Well, guess what? YouTube reads file names, so we optimize that file, just change it. So we'll say Frisco, Texas, Levi Lascsak, Dallas, Texas real estate agent .mp4, and then upload that. So even something like that small, communicates with YouTube. Remember, all an algorithm is reading words and letters. So that's why I say if YouTube gives you a box, fill it in, because if you don't fill in that box, guess what? You're not communicating to the algorithm.
Yeah.
Right? So it can't read blanks. Actually, it reads blanks. It reads it as 0. It says nothing. So even the file name, if your file name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, well, guess what? That's what, does anybody ever search 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No, they search Dallas, Texas, Frisco, Texas, and if that's a key word in our video file, guess what? That plus our title, plus our description, plus our tags, plus every other thing that we filled in there is going to say Frisco, Texas, Frisco, Texas. And guess what? Somebody types in Frisco, Texas. Well, guess what? The algorithm says, oh, well, here's a video that has Frisco, Texas in it. Let's suggest that one for search.
That's great.
The level of attention is so high, and it looks like you've done all of that. So I really look forward to reading the book and finding out some of those nuggets that we can implement.